I have a SkySphere. I'm going to show you what it looks like when we go through play, etc. It's going to change. It's going to be a lot better when I actually go and release it. So I made this because of the struggle it is to create such a project. You think, oh, it's simple, etc. But don't. Please have patience. Understand why it's not so simple. I thought it was simple too. So here's the deal: is in a normal SkySphere, it would be a little different. There's something different about this one that's almost in every way. In fact, if you look at the bottom, it's transparent and stuff like that. And it's got components to it that might surprise you. So we're starting from the top to the bottom. We have a regular SkySphere. We have an exponential height fog. I'm changing every one of these. Every one of these are important to this SkySphere project, to this atmosphere actually, because it's an atmosphere project. We have a sun, the actual sun in space. We have a sun body, atmosphere. No, wait, we have a sun body. Yeah, the actual sun in space. We have an atmospheric fog and another SkySphere that provides clarity. I'm going to explain that further. I'm going to show you one of the features of this SkySphere, one of the things it does. While you might not want to create this project yourself and get this one instead, is and it's not done yet, so you can't get it instead. So this is not an advertisement. This is just me saying this is what I've done so far. It's really hard. You can do it yourself too, and I'll tell you how to do it yourself. I did this in steps with curb floats, and I used the specific thing I wanted, the specific material, and I stepped it up slowly and I stepped it down slowly. This is how long that took for one. Same thing happens when I go to atmospheric brightness and I go and get it from the broken project. This is the broken project. It broke because I've made the stars universal, the root, and that's a big scale. If you think about it, the sun being the sun body being that scale plus the static mesh being that scale multiplied by this scale twice is insane. So that's probably why it breaks, and I can't really change it that much, so I'm just going to close it off right now. If I shrink this, we can go into the older project, and we can play it real quick and show you how that looks. I'm going to press play. Look in a couple directions here. The stars don't flicker. You notice that they stay pretty stagnant. That's pretty good. I can make them flicker if you want me to. I'm going to take down some of the brightness on some stars because I think some stars are too big. Because some of these look like north stars, and that's kind of too big for what I was going. Color is different. Clarity is different too. So you can witness that. When it's daytime, I'll show you how the ground changes and stuff like that. And clouds also change too. Clouds changes in noise and stuff you'll notice as well. It's about to be daytime because that's how short I made it for testing purposes. And this is the broken one. This is the broken one. I'm going to show you where we was at in the beginning was not the broken one. So I'm going to go back to the non-broken one. It's just not finished yet because there's still a lot of stuff I have to copy and move over. You might notice that the clouds got thicker. That's because I do have that noise control, but the background clouds, the other clouds that are a different color, didn't follow through. I'm going to slow them down, make them follow through, do something with them to affect their noise control and cloud speed as well, and in sync with the other clouds so they don't look like they're off. Obviously, it's just because after I rooted that, I didn't get to the second problem because I decided to take this project to a whole nother scale than what I was taking it to before. So let me show you my plans for this project at least, and what I'm going to do. You notice that it got brighter and slowly dimmer as well. So if we go back to the original, or not the original, the second part of this project, basically, and we have our speed on our cam max, we can escape the skyscraper fairly easily and look at what I'm actually trying to do. So this is on a actual universal scale, almost. So basically, you can put a planet inside the skysphere and be perfectly fine. You can put a planet in it. I'm going to have an overlapping skysphere that's going to account for the clouds and stuff like that, on top of it being the right color and stuff like that, on top of, the Earth spinning. So basically what's going to happen is when you leave the skysphere, and there's going to be gradual steps. This is why this is an atmosphere now instead of a skysphere. Gradual steps causes everything in the environment to change. Not just post-processing volumes, but everything's changing. We're talking the opacities of both the skyspheres and, where the clouds are, etc., etc. Like I said before, if you take this and move this over, the darkness you see here is actually how it appears in the game, where the sky is actually darker. It's noted that if you change the sun direction and it's attached to the atmosphere, 0, everything changes. There's a solution to this. I already have it. I'm going to slowly hide the atmosphere from the game. I'm going to bring this brightness lower in game as you leave the atmosphere, etc., etc., etc. So here's the thing, is that everything, again, like I said, has to be changed in steps in order to have such a proper atmosphere and such a proper space. So what I'm going to do is when you leave the skysphere, there's going to be an atmosphere, there's going to be gradual steps of a changing atmosphere, just like the 13 layers we have here on Earth. And when you leave during the daytime, the sun's going to be facing you. When you leave during the nighttime, the sun's going to be away from you. That's just how I'm going to make it. I'm going to branch it out, true, false, basically on night and day. And I also have to do something kind of similar to orbit, so the planets surrounding you won't be basically in respective orbits as the Earth. The Earth's going to seem like the center of the universe, but when you go into space, it's not going to look like that and stuff like that. And it's going to also spin when you leave it. Now, the Earth and the landscape not being attached to the project will be respectively fine. When you go into the Earth during the day or night, I'm going to make a prototype spaceship. It's not going to be the best of the prototypes, but I'm going to make a prototype spaceship when you leave and come back into Earth that you'll automatically be put in a spot over or heading towards the landscape, depending on your scale. I'm going to also scale the skysphere up to 1/10 the Earth's size, if need be. I'm going to do that. Here's the stars. They flicker, but in the game, as you saw, as we played it, they did not. I'm going to play that one more time for you. And that's basically going to be the conclusion of my project. It might sound simple. We can have all these factors, and you can make them all yourself. But when you think about all the code that has to go into every single one of these facets, and you think about meteor showers, and you think about weather, you think about anything like that, the project just becomes enormously complicated. And if you think about going from Earth to space, the project becomes even more complicated. And if you think about changing colors of the skysphere with opacity respective to 2, the project becomes even more complicated, when especially one of the skysphere's opacities is that base. Now, some people might say, well, why don't you just put stars under the skysphere and change its opacity? Well, that affects the clouds. When stars don't normally appear in front of the clouds, so I'm going to have to do a little bit of opacity changes, stuff like that, as well as emission changes, because the emission is so bright it's going through the clouds and I don't want it to. So that's an easy fix for me. Right now, the opacity for the entire sky sphere the space sphere, if you want, that information is almost invisible. So in this light, the emission is not heavy. In fact, if you go into space, like I said before, it looks like how it would look when you look through the sky sphere. That's transparency. That's seeing it without the atmospheric fog, where that's black and then there's white stars. I'm going to make a preview of this before I release it again, and it's going to show how it looks as well as the prototype ship, as well as the anti-gravity volumes and stuff like that, or the reverse. So, and I know how to make one where even if the gravity is maxed out, I can still make it to where your console can use it where when anything leaves the gravity volume, it loses gravity, period. So that's great, and also character movement is important as well. So that's that. I'm also going to end up, I don't want to add too much to this project to make it go on for too long. I might end up making a prototype space station. And that's what I have to offer, basically, is this project. Now, might not seem that complicated. It is a lot more complicated than you can ever think, even if you're experienced or not experienced. It's a lot more time consuming than you could ever think. And even if you come up with simple things like that, there's still a lot of prototyping to do and a lot of testing to do. If you don't want everything to hit max and zero, you want everything to go in between, and you want different variances of that with respect to randomness. So it's not as easy as a project as you might think, even though I've been working on it for so long. I showed you one facet, which was just brightness control. Imagine if I showed you cloud control, cloud noises, and opacities dealing with just the average day and night cycle. It's not just brightness. It's not just atmospheric fog either. It takes all of these controls plus the materials within them to affect. Also, I'm going to be affecting, again, like I said before, the sun body during days and nights, and then when you leave it, that has to change because, again, in space, the sun has a stagnant color. So you can only imagine how complicated the sky-sphere material is. On top of that, you have to imagine how complicated all the other facets is and all the options that come with that. And just affecting one of those options doesn't mean you've done anything. You have to affect that option in various ways so that it's random enough to be good for a game. As well as I'm going to have a moon. So that's also an ad that I'm going to have. So that's my project. I mean, I'm not finished with it yet. Maybe somebody can outdo me. I don't know if somebody's just that quick-witted, smart, whatever, that can just outdo me right there in that pace. But I have the confidence that it's not going to happen in a day or 2 days or 3 days or 4 days or when I complete this project because of how long I've been working on it. Right now it's called Ultimate Atmosphere. Teaching you basically how to do it. You just have to have 2 different materials that are the same material but make the clouds transparent. You have to have a sun body, a vent height fog, and know how to control opacities, as well as know how to make stars. I'll teach you how to make stars. They're really easy. At least I'll teach you that much on the graph. So basically you can have a texture, 2 star materials from the engine basically, divide 1 by 2 so you can have one that's twice the size, and then one goes into A, one goes into B. Alpha layer is 0.7. Your brightness is going to be close to 0, and then your divide of that is going to be another one that's close to 0, and then yeah, basically 2 that are close to 0 into emission gives you a star, which is really neat. And you can even make that star transparent if you want to, but at certain distances that really affects it. You can also take the roughness value down if you want to affect it that way too. I don't think roughness really changes anything. And if you want to change the color, I'll teach you how to do that too. Yeah, roughness doesn't really change anything except for how close you have to be in order for it to not blend. So if you want to change color, basically all of them are almost close to close to 0.00 location, 0.001 something location. I can change the color easily by backspacing twice, multiplying this one basically by 10 of all the other variables, and that will give me blue color because I have less red. Because remember, we're dividing. Vice versa for everything, because you got to remember that that white equals all the colors of the rainbow. Taking one away means that you get closer to, guess what, not black, but a different color. So that helps as well. So dividing, you're dividing more red. That means that you're not just getting less black, but you're getting less red, and that means your green and blue topple together as blue, because green is already a part of blue. That's it for this presentation, I guess. I don't really want to be a nerd and call it a presentation, but that's basically what it is. I'll play it one more time for you, and I'll let it be. Also, it's going to look a little different when I finish making it. The clouds are going to be fixed better, and the transparencies are going to be fixed better, so it will look different. That's it.